Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews. Today we have a very cool Mattel figure to take a look at, and this is the newest version of Velociraptor Echo, the Savage Strike version that Mattel has just recently released. Again, you can see for the Camp Cretaceous line. But one thing you might notice is the fact that this has some Japanese writing all over it and it doesn't actually say Velociraptor Echo. That is because this is actually a figure ordered from Amazon Japan, and this was kindly sent to me totally by surprise by John Sakulo, who has sent us a few figures in the past to help me acquire a few different figures that I did not have previously to review or add to my collection, and I just randomly got this in the mail, so I just want to give a huge shout out and a huge thank you to John Sakulo for being absolutely awesome and sending this over, giving us a chance to have this here to review, but also to add to my collection, and having this kind of Japanese packaging here. I absolutely am going to be keeping the packaging of this one because it's not something that you see every day. But again, a huge thank you to him. I am extremely appreciative of him helping me out and acquiring at least one of these new Savage Strike figures, especially as they are still currently pretty complicated to find here in the United States. So awesome of him to be incredibly kind and send this over. But looking at the figure here at first glance, it really doesn't look anything like Echo. But as far as a regular, everyday, very cool Jurassic Park style Velociraptor goes, I think it actually looks really cool. I am definitely a fan of the paint scheme. The only thing I would have changed, honestly, would be the fact that I would have had the paint run out onto the tail a little bit there. Would have made it look quite a bit better. But at first glance, I still think it looks really nice as far as the coloration goes, just not as far as a Velociraptor Echo figure goes. But inside we can see that there is another one of those really cool little activity kits there, as well as some images here on the back of the packaging showing the action feature, of course, the jumping feature as far as this Savage Strike Velociraptor goes. So let's go ahead and get him out of the packaging. It almost pained me to take him out of the packaging just because it has that very cool Japanese packaging. I would have liked to have kept it in there, but sometimes I've got to make sacrifices for you guys, and I did want to review this, so can't really review it while it's still in the packaging. So we now have it out, and again, this is a sculpt that has been used numerous times in the past by Mattel already. We have had quite a few versions with this jumping Velociraptor sculpt in the past, so the sculpt overall isn't really anything new or amazing to write home about, but we do want to get a look at what is new with the figure, so let's go ahead and get a closer look right now. So up here on the head sculpt, you can see that primarily the body is like a really nice grayish coloration, and it does look like a very beautiful grayish tone that we have here. And then you have like a reddish brown almost that picks up here on the top of the head, but that starts to run down the course of the back. And then if we open the mouth really quickly, we can get a look at the inside of the mouth. The teeth look pretty nice, painted with like a yellowish off-white sort of a coloration, which do give them a bit of a realistic appearance. As far as the teeth go and the coloration included, the inside of the mouth has a really nice pinkish coloration in there. No coloration on the inside of the top of the mouth, but the tongue and the throat area sort of has that pinkish coloration. Surprisingly, the skin flap here on the inside of the mouth actually doesn't. It has that same coloration as the lower jaw, which is a little different than some Mattel releases. We normally have that coloration, that pinkish coloration there run the entire course of the inside of the mouth, even on that skin flap area, but we don't on this one, which is nice to see a little difference than what we are used to seeing. And you can also see that the inside of the mouth has a really nice gloss coat to it to give it a bit of a realistic appearance. The eyes are painted with a really nice kind of like a greenish yellow type of a color, and for the most part they look like they are actually placed fairly well, which is definitely nice to see. Nice slit-like pupil that you are accustomed to seeing on Velociraptors. I'm not too sure if Echo actually had that look to the eye, but at this point the entire coloration of the figure doesn't really look like Echo, so I guess we don't really need to worry too much about that. But you can also see the lower jaw has like a whitish coloration, and that coloration leads down here into the throat and kind of splatters up onto the throat a little bit, sort of the way I would explain it, and then it ends pretty much right here in the chest. And then we don't really have any other coloration here on the underside, aside from that same gray that is the primary body color. While we are down here, you might as well get a look at that Jurassic Facts app if you do want to include this in your collection. But up here on the back, again, that reddish brown continues to run down the body until we get to right here before the tail, before the transition to the second half of the tail. Actually, it's probably like the primary part of the tail, but there's that little seam right there where that area connects, and this coloration ends right there. It also runs down here onto the body and actually looks really nice the way they've transitioned it between the gray and that reddish brown coloration. And then you also have like these black stripes that kind of run the back of the dinosaur, which do also look really cool, has a very nice appearance to them. Nails here on the feet are painted quite nicely and beautifully glossed, and I'm quite certain that we do not have paint on the dew claw. No, we do not. We also do not have paint on the fingernails either, but overall, I will say that it is actually quite a really nice looking paint scheme for a Mattel Velociraptor, and that's nice to see because at this point we've had so many Mattel Velociraptors. It is cool to see that they are still producing some pretty nice paint schemes on their figures, still coming up with ideas as to how to paint them and have them still actually look quite nice and quite natural. It's just unfortunate that as far as an Echo figure goes, it doesn't really look like Echo at all, but it is still a pretty darn nice looking Mattel Velociraptor. And even though we have actually reviewed this raptor about 45 million times probably at this point, we will still give it a size here. So for a length about 8 inches or around 20 centimeters, maybe 20 and a half. And for a height, the head is about 2 3/4 inches or around 7 centimeters. And then the top of the tail is about 4 3/4 inches or about 12 centimeters. For a size comparison, there is Mr. Papo T-Rex, the Attack Pack Colovosaurus, and Robert Muldoon next to our Velociraptor Echo, the Savage Strike version, showing you that if you have not actually purchased any Savage Strike figures in the past, they are pretty close to Attack Pack size range. You can see that the Raptor here is a little bit longer than our Colovosaurus, although the Colovosaurus is probably one of the smallest Attack Packs that we've had, but regardless, you should have a pretty good idea of the size of this figure, but I think if you're watching a Mattel review, there's probably a pretty good chance at this point, a few years in to the Jurassic World line, you've probably picked up one of these Velociraptors at some point, so you probably already have a good idea of the size. But if not, hopefully these 3 figures here will help do that. And then, of course, the action feature that we do have is the jumping sort of action feature. So if we press the Raptor down, he jumps totally out of frame, so the action feature actually works really well. I remember when I first got these figures, I had no idea, for some reason, how to operate the action feature. I just couldn't figure it out. But now that I have figured it out, it does definitely work really nicely. Definitely a very strong jump to the figure, so really cool addition overall to the Savage Strike line is this Velociraptor Echo. So this figure may not be the best Velociraptor released by Mattel so far. Definitely not the most accurate as far as paint scheme in comparison to what we see in the film, but it is still a pretty darn nice figure, that's for sure. The overall sculpt, which I didn't really comment on because I have reviewed this numerous times in the past, is absolutely gorgeous. Mattel never ceases to impress when it comes to the amount of detail and sculpt that they include in their figures and just really giving them a very highly detailed appearance, something that I know myself as a fan of the Jurassic World line am super thankful for is the fact that they really give us very, very high quality sculpts, and that continues overall to these Velociraptors that they've released over the last few years. This jumping version definitely has a really nice sculpt to it, and the head sculpt itself is actually really reminiscent of like the Jurassic Park 3 Velociraptors. So it's really cool that they've sculpted out different versions of the Jurassic Park style Velociraptors, because you have some that look like the JP3 version, and then you have others that look like Blue, and then you kind of have some that might look more close to like the Jurassic Park version. So there's just a bunch of different versions of the Velociraptors that they've released so far. I will say that they do tend to kind of reuse the sculpts. Like this has been a Velociraptor Blue in the past, which it is clearly not accurate to what Velociraptor Blue looked like at all. And actually Echo herself doesn't really have that crest-like appearance to the head that you see on this one. So again, it's sort of one of those situations where they have kind of just reused this sculpt because this is the base of Velociraptor jumping style figure. So we tend to get kind of them reusing the same sculpt with different paint jobs, but I'm just saying as a whole, it is cool that they've given us different variations of Velociraptors over the years from the different films. The paint job on this, as far as looking like Echo, I think it's sort of, now that I look at it more, has a slight appearance to looking almost kind of like Echo in a way, sort of. with like the stripes coming down the back, and then the overall coloration kind of in like a very slight amount of a way looks like Echo. But at the same time, I really don't think it looks much like the Velociraptor from the film, so the paint job itself is a little bit different than what we should have probably received, but that being said, I still think it looks really nice. Again, almost being like an unknown version of a Jurassic Park Velociraptor, the overall appearance of the paint scheme is definitely nicely done. I personally do quite like it. It's not my favorite Mattel Velociraptor, that's for sure, but it is still another nice, really cool looking version of a Mattel Velociraptor, and it is nice in general to add yet another one to the collection as far as these Mattel Velociraptor figures go. You do have the really cool action feature, which still works great, and even the initial figures that I bought quite a few years ago, as far as that action feature goes, they still work really well to this day. So it's a very nice action feature, and it is really well done overall as far as making sure that it doesn't weaken over time. It still seems just as strong today as it did back when the figures were initially released. So Mattel has done a good job of kind of giving the action feature a nice strong feel to it. So kudos to them in that department. But again, a really cool Velociraptor. Not really so much a Velociraptor Echo, but a cool Velociraptor now to add to the collection regardless. So if you would like to pick this up, you're probably just going to have to keep searching your local Targets and maybe Walmart if they ever actually start to get some new stuff in. I know they've recently got like the Tarbosaurus, Sarcosuchus, and some have actually had the Seats. Not everyone seems to be getting all of those figures, but I would like to see some actual newer figures hit Walmart. So hopefully this will start to do that at some point very soon. But regardless, again, pretty darn cool Mattel figure. Good luck, guys, trying to get a hold of one. Hopefully they'll start to show up very soon. But before you go running out to go look for them, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next review. Thanks for watching.